The story begins with Abby and her sister. After their mom passed away, Abby's whole world became her sister, Beth. Life was going fine for them until they found out Beth was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Hearing this shattered Beth, but Abby refused to give up. She started searching for new treatments and discovered a pharmaceutical research company that had developed a cure for late-stage cancer. But there was a problem. This treatment was extremely expensive. Desperate to save her sister, Abby took on a very dangerous job. She signed up as a geologist on the cold border between Europe and Russia, where her task was to search for uranium deep in the mountains. The job paid well, but it came with deadly risks. Her life could be on the line. Still, Abby worked hard and gave everything she had. After days of searching, they still couldn't find uranium. Abby suggested to her colleague that they should move further into the dense forests of the mountains. But her colleague refused. Going deeper was too dangerous, and beyond that lay the Russian border, where they weren't allowed to enter. Feeling hopeless, Abby decided to return. But later that night, she received a call from her father. Beth's condition had gotten much worse. Abby hadn't received any advance payment from the company, so she couldn't even begin Beth's treatment. She knew if she wanted money, she had to find uranium. So the next morning, she made the bold choice to head into the forest alone. Her colleague warned her about the wild animals that lived there, so Abby borrowed his gun and set off by herself. After walking for hours, she started hearing strange noises. Thinking it might be an animal nearby, she quickly raised her gun, only to notice a stone lying on the ground. The sound seemed to be coming from it. Abby picked it up and immediately realized this wasn't an ordinary rock. It looked precious, something she had never seen before, even as a geologist. Abby takes the strange stone back to her base, but she doesn't tell her company about it. Instead, she decides to sell the stone herself and use the money for Beth's treatment. Just then, she gets another call from her dad. Beth's condition has gotten even worse. Hearing this, Abby immediately decides to go home. Before leaving, she tells her colleague that she won't be coming back here again. To get out of the area, Abby needs to fly out by helicopter. She boards the chopper, but halfway through the flight, she notices something strange outside the window. Suddenly, the helicopter collides with it and crashes. Abby loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds that one of the pilots is dead and the other is badly injured. Abby gives him first aid, then begins searching for a radio to call for help. But she can't find one, and the helicopter's communication system is completely destroyed. Now, she realizes she'll have to save both herself and the injured pilot on her own. She takes out a map and a compass and sees that the nearest road is about 60 kilometers away. Reaching it in this freezing weather and dangerous terrain won't be easy. As night falls, Abby lights a fire, hoping someone will see it. But no one comes. Before dawn, the injured pilot dies, leaving Abby all alone. She understands now, waiting for help is useless. So she packs up food, water, a gun, and a radio walkie-talkie before setting out on foot. The walkie-talkie's battery is almost dead, so Abby charges it with the helicopter's battery. Suddenly, she hears a man's voice, someone named John. John says his helicopter also crashed nearby. He tells Abby he's near a lake, surrounded by forest. His condition is terrible. His body is badly damaged, and one of his legs is seriously injured. John tells Abby that his communication system is also damaged, which means he can't call for a rescue either. But there's one good thing. He still has enough supplies and a working radio, one that Abby could use to fix her battery and finally call for help. Checking her map, Abby realizes John is about 30 kilometers away. She decides to go find him, but John warns her not to, saying the path is far too dangerous. Abby refuses to listen. She doesn't have much time. She needs to get back to her sister as quickly as possible. Along the way, the two keep talking over the radio. Abby reveals that she's a geologist, and John quickly replies, "Then you must have come here searching for uranium." Abby is stunned. How'd he know that? That night, Abby sets up a small shelter. Before resting, she checks her bag and takes out the black stone again. As she turns it over in her hands, the rock begins to change shape. Abby is shocked and confused. What exactly is this? Could it be some kind of advanced technology or an alien rock? The next morning, Abby continues her lonely trek through the frozen wilderness. John keeps trying to talk to her on the radio, but Abby warns him that if they keep chatting, the battery will die faster. She shuts it off, saving every bit of power she can. Soon, Abby finds herself facing a steep mountain wall. Climbing it won't be easy. She tells John about it, and he calmly replies, "If you want to turn back, go. I'll pray that your sister recovers soon." Hearing this makes Abby sad. She admits she's not getting better. John then gently tells her, "You can't save everyone." Hearing John's words, Abby snaps back angrily, telling him to keep quiet. She then begins climbing the steep mountain wall, using her knife as support. But soon, the blade gets stuck in the rock and breaks, making her climb even more dangerous. In that moment, Abby remembers the strange black stone, the one that could change its shape. She quickly takes it out and molds it into the form of a knife. With its help, the climb becomes much easier. Finally, Abby reaches the top. But looking down from the peak, she realizes descending might be even deadlier than climbing up. One slip could mean certain death. So, she reshapes the stone into a long rope and uses it to rappel down safely. The moment she reaches the ground, John contacts her again. He warns her that the Russian border lies ahead. If she crosses it, soldiers might shoot her on sight. Hearing this, Abby hesitates and turns back. But just then, her foot slips, sending her tumbling down a slope. She lands hard, injuring her leg badly. With no choice, she ties a bandage around the wound and keeps moving forward. Hours pass, and by evening, Abby finally spots a small settlement. Desperate for help, she rushes toward it, only to find the place abandoned. Exhausted, she decides to spend the night there. She looks for food, but what she finds is already spoiled. Hungry and weak, she treats her wounded leg and injects herself with some medicine. The next morning, strange noises wake her up. Looking out, Abby spots a Russian soldier nearby. Panic hits her. She's from Europe, and being caught here could mean prison or worse. She hides quickly, but the soldier grows suspicious and enters the very house she's hiding in. Abby grips her gun tightly. As the soldier steps in front of her, both of them aim their weapons at each other. But Abby fires first, shooting him in the leg. Shaken and terrified, she grabs his rifle and orders him to hand over his bag. That's when Abby makes a shocking discovery. The soldier was also carrying a stone exactly like hers, one that could change its shape. At that moment, someone contacted the soldier through his walkie-talkie. The voice sounded exactly like John's. Abby was shocked. How could one person talk to her as John, and to the soldier as someone else? She realized the entire story was somehow connected to that stone. Through the soldier's walkie-talkie, she asked John, "Who are you and what do you want?" But this time, no reply came. Abby then focused on helping the injured soldier. She set out with him to reach the base, since he had lost his way and ended up here. John was still in contact with Abby, but neither of them knew his true intentions. Both Abby and the soldier were wounded, and moving forward was difficult. The soldier's condition kept getting worse. Meanwhile, John was trying to frighten Abby about the other soldier. That's when Abby understood that John's connection must be with the black stone she carried. Out of fear, she pulled the stone from her bag and threw it far away. Just then, she saw that the ice beneath the soldier's feet had cracked, and he fell into the lake. Abby rushed to help him, but the ice under her feet also broke, and she too plunged into the freezing water. The lake was unbearably cold. Still, Abby managed to pull herself out with great difficulty. She called out for help, but no one was there. She quickly removed her wet clothes to preserve her body heat. At that moment, John's voice reached her again. Angry, she tore the battery out of the radio and threw it away. But even then, she could still hear John's voice. Because of her injuries, Abby fainted. In that moment, memories of her sister and all the beautiful times they had spent together came rushing back. A little while later, the sound of a helicopter woke her. Overjoyed, she gathered what little strength she had left and tried to get up so someone could see her and help. But Abby was too weak, and she failed to signal the helicopters. Soon, she noticed she was standing near a cave. Her mind could no longer focus, and she collapsed, rolling into the cave. Inside, there was warm water that began to revive her, almost giving her a new life. In that same water, she saw a body, wearing a pilot's uniform with the name tag John. John, the very man she had been speaking to all this time. Around her, many glowing black stones floated upward from the water and attached themselves to Abby's body. When she regained consciousness, she panicked. Somehow, she had been transported to another place, surrounded on all sides by black stones. They floated in the air around her, circling endlessly. And then, John's voice returned. He told her that 65 years ago, he had come here, just like Abby, and had been trapped ever since. Listening to him, Abby finally understood. Everything happening to her was because of these stones. And these were no ordinary stones. They were aliens, or perhaps some kind of creature unknown to mankind, that had lived on Earth for thousands of years. But they didn't kill humans. Instead, they kept them here, bound to their will, just as John had once chosen to surrender himself to them. Now John asked Abby if she wanted to live that kind of life too, but Abby refused. She only wanted to return to her sister. The moment she said this, she suddenly found herself standing in front of her house, away from all the struggles, living what looked like a perfect life. She could hardly believe it. She went inside and saw her sister again, but none of it was real. When Abby came back to her senses, she was actually standing at her front door. She opened it, only to see a raging snowstorm outside. She walked straight into the storm, and in a flash, we were shown that Abby had finally been rescued. When she opened her eyes, she was truly in her friend's apartment. Without wasting a moment, she rushed to see her sister. At home, she found her sister taking her last breaths. Finally, Abby was there by her side in her final moments. And with this emotional scene, the movie comes to an end.